And now, so we will start the session. So this session is to give you the uh, overview on the introduction about the AWS public cloud. So myself, Ilan Cherian, CTO at Comet Computer Private Limited, and myself having more than 20 plus years of experience in on-premises and cloud infrastructure, including physical and virtual IT infrastructure, and also infrastructure security solutions also is my specialized area, and my certifications are certified ethical hacker and certified computer hacking forensic investigator and certified EC Council instructor and Citrix certified associate, Microsoft certified system administrator, and IBM certified AX administrator. So these are my certifications, and we can move on to the session. So initially we'll be understanding about what is cloud and what are all the benefits of the cloud, and then we'll be discussing about the uh, models of cloud computing, and also we'll understand and we'll compare the on-premises infrastructure with the cloud infrastructure, and finally we'll move on to the demonstration. We'll have a small demo on AWS cloud, how to um, create your infrastructure in cloud, and the end of the session will be the QA session. So hopefully we'll have this session to get completed within an hour. Maybe if time extends, uh, we may be working accordingly. That might not be an issue. And also, I'll have one more request to you all. Kindly disable your video, since this session is going to be an interactive and audio only session. Since if you enable video, might be some persons might have some low internet access, so that might be an issue for them. So that we'll have a audio session alone. Fine. So let me move on to the session. So the first thing we need to understand is about the uh, what is a cloud computing. I believe most of you would have already aware about the uh, what is cloud computing and all these things. Maybe few might not be aware about that. So it's my responsibility to brief you on that. So basically, the cloud computing is not at all a new technology. It's actually, from my point of view, it's an extended version or enhanced version of the traditional IT infrastructure. So basically, in our traditional IT infrastructure, we'll have all the uh, infrastructure resources like servers, storage, network devices, security devices like firewall. So everything will have in on-premises. Maybe in some cases, we'll have a data center in one location, and the end users might be sitting in another location. Uh, Usually, for connecting these two locations, the companies might use public internet service providers using those connections like VPN connection or a T1 connection. They will establish a secure connection between the location. Say example, if I have a data center in Bangalore, and end users are sitting at Noida, so the VPN will be established between Bangalore data center and Noida data center, and the end user will be accessing those resources. So here you can understand one thing, like the end users are in one location and data center is somewhere. The end user might not be aware about the physical location where the data center is, and these resources are accessed by the end user through the WAN link. Obviously, even the end user might not be aware that they are accessing through the WAN link, because such a way will have our network setup. And this cloud computing also is going to be the similar kind of approach. So where the the service provider, that is the cloud service provider, we call it in short CSP. So the cloud service provider will be owning the data center. They will be owning all the resources like server, storage, network devices, everything. They'll own everything. And as a customer, we can use their resources based on our requirement. And the access is going to be obviously going through the public internet. So using the public internet, we can access the cloud service providers portal. So through that you can create your resources, and also you can access those resources through the same WAN link. So this kind of approach is basically called as the cloud computing. And the great thing about the cloud computing is the company need not to invest anything initially, where the cloud service provider is already owning the data center and all the resources are available readily for us. As a customer, what we can do is we can just log on to their portal and we can create the resources whatever we need, and we can make use of those resources. So that is the basic thing you need to understand about the cloud computing. And also the another great advantage about the cloud computing is provisioning and sizing. In a traditional data center environment, if the company wants to start a new project, for that particular project they need to add some 10 servers or 15 servers. So procuring the servers and configuring the servers, testing the servers and putting into the production, it will take a long time. And even while choosing the hardware, they'll have to uh, plan what is going to be the load today, what is going to be the load in an year, and what is going to be the load after 5 years. So all these things they have to plan prior. Accordingly, they need to choose the right hardware, and then they can configure all these things. But when it comes to the cloud infrastructure, you need not to bother about the future. Whatever the resource required today, or whatever the resource required in another 6 months, that resource alone you can deploy it and you can use it. Whenever there is more resource requirement is there, you can add additional resources immediately. So that the scaling up or scaling down, it's going to be very much flexible and very much uh, instant. That is the another great thing about the cloud infrastructure. And AWS has listed some 6 advantages of cloud computing. So every service provider will have a different approach, and they'll have a different point of view. Coming to the specifically about AWS, they are pointing out this 6 advantages of using the cloud computing. Out of that, the top one is trade capital expense for variable expense. It means that, first of all, if it is an on-premises infrastructure, it might be a physical infrastructure or a virtual infrastructure, so where they need to invest initially. So for a 100 servers data center or a 500 servers data center, they need to invest initially. And this investment is not going to be a one time investment. This is going to be a repeated one. We all know that the servers in the data center, it can be used only for 5 years. So every 5 years they need to invest on the servers, and the return on investment is going to be a very big challenge for the companies. Even uh, uh, the today's situation where the most of the company's business are affected a lot. So in this kind of scenarios, return on investment is going to get affected a lot. So that is a very big thing about on-premises infrastructure. But now speaking about the cloud infrastructure, so whenever there is need of the resource, you can use the resource. Whenever there is no need of the resource, you can immediately surrender the resource, and immediately the billing stops on that particular resource alone. So that the companies can take advantage of this, and so that they can reduce the cost a lot. So that is the first great thing. And the second important advantage is benefit from massive economies of scale. See, whenever any new project is started or new product is released or any new business is taken by the company, in that case they need to uh, uh, i- invest or they need to prepare the infrastructure as earliest possible. And another important thing is, whenever any new product has to be launched, the product has to be brought to the market as earliest possible. And also, when a new product is launched, they might not be sure about the load. Say example, if a company is developing a e-commerce website, they might not be sure about the load. They might not be sure how many customers will hit their site, how many customers will uh, hit on weekends, or how many customers will be hitting on the uh, uh, festival days. So they might not be sure on that. In that cases, if they have over resource, definitely the return on investment is going to be very low. And if they have very short resource, obviously the end user performance is going to affect, obviously that is going to affect their business. So to balance these two, even the cloud service providers, most of the cloud service providers has the feature of scaling. So where the scaling can be done manually or automatically using the configurations. So the resources can be added at any time or it can be reduced at any time. So obviously this might not affect their business and the end users performance. And another important thing, as I said earlier, stop guessing about the capacity. So, as I said earlier, initially the most of the companies in on-premises infrastructure, so they will plan what is the load required right now, what is the load required after 1 year, what is the load required uh, 3 years, and what is the load required after 5 years. So all these things they should have in their plan. Accordingly they should invest and they should have the high capacity server. Most of the companies they will be planning minimum for 3 years or 5 years. So maybe currently the business will be running with 100 employees. Maybe in future after 3 years they might reach 500 employees, and after 5 years they might reach 1000 employees. So where the companies or the where the uh, uh, data center architect is responsible for deciding the load, so they will be choosing the minimum of 5 years plan. So they'll be implementing or they'll be purchasing the hardware which is sufficient to handle 1000 users maybe after 5 years. So this again going to reduce their return on investment. Obviously their running cost is going to be high, and obviously this is going to affect their business profit. And the other important feature is increase speed and agility. So and one more thing already I have spoke about that, how fast you can bring your product in live, or how fast your product is brought into the market. So that is very important for any uh, business to get succeeded. So if a new project or new business is being launched, the business has to capture the market as earliest possible. If your competitor is really releasing the uh, similar kind of product before your company releases, obviously most of the customers will be captured by the partner, the competitor. So to face this kind of situations, so the company will be, most of the companies, if they want to launch any product 6 months later, so they will keep all their infrastructure ready 6 months earlier. So then only they will be able to uh, uh, what to say, they'll be ready to serve their customers without any disturbance or without any delay on the particular date. So even the business is starting 6 months later, but still they have all their resources ready today. So the 6 month until the product has been launched, so the servers return on investment. Not only the servers, I'm just meaning the word server, but all the resources, hardware resources, software resources, employees, everything is going to consume the money until the even the project has not it implemented. Still they need to pay for it. So when it comes to the cloud infrastructure, this kind of delays is not at all required, because so this cloud infrastructures is going to be very much flexible. You can deploy the resources within few clicks. You need not to what to say uh, wait for hours to deploy your servers. When just speaking about a physical server installing the operating system, it will take a few hours at least. First of all, unpacking the servers and uh, mounting the servers in the rack, configuring the RAID, installing the operating system, installing the patches, and this is the bare minimum configuration required for any servers. So for this bare minimum configurations alone, it will require few hours. So this kind of time delay is not required in the cloud infrastructure. If you decide now, if you want to deploy a Windows Server 2019 with a 4 processor and 64 GB of RAM, within few minutes your servers will be ready. So that as a uh, as a uh, business person, you can just concentrate on your business alone. You need not to bother about the implementing or deployment of the servers. So where the few resources, the good knowledge cloud professionals can deploy these resources within few minutes. So that is a great thing. So immediately whenever you want to start the project, even a day before or 2 days before, you can deploy your resources and you can make it ready for the launch. So that is another great advantage about the cloud infrastructure. And the another fifth advantage about the cloud infrastructure is stop spending money running and maintenance of the data centers. So the bigger cost for the company, most of the business, the first uh, top cost is the employee salary, and the second top cost is the maintenance, that is the running cost, which includes the eb bill and the floor rental space and the cooling system. So these are all the cost which is required or which is involved for running your data center. So this kind of cost, this kind of data center running cost is not at all involved in this cloud infrastructure. And the final advantage of the cloud computing is go global in minutes, because since the cloud resources are available over the internet, so you can deploy the resources, and within few clicks you can make these resources available globally. So example, if you want to publish a e-commerce website, you can keep ready your application, just build your server, deploy your application in the server, and make it available in the internet globally. Within few minutes or within few clicks you can make it available. Even being a better professional in a cloud infrastructure, with a script you can just executing the script, a single script can deploy the entire infrastructure for you in cloud. And again, if you want to destroy this, say example, you have you're running a project, and you don't want to continue this project, no more. So again, for destroying all these resources also, you can just write a script, execute the script, all the resources can be destroyed within few minutes. So this is the great advantage about the cloud computing, and this six advantages, this will help any business organizations to get adopted with the cloud infrastructure. So I believe you got a better understanding about why we need to get into the cloud infrastructure. And if you have any doubts or any questions related to the topics which we have discussed now, you can please let me know. Okay, so I consider there is no doubts. Let me move on to the next stage where we need to understand about the cloud computing models. So basically, there are three cloud computing models. Not these three alone. There are many cloud computing models out there. Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. Apart from this, security as a service, and database as a service, serverless infrastructure as a service. So there are many other cloud computing models out there, but these three are the primary cloud computing models. So on all the other models will be based on these three models only. So we need to understand about these cloud computing models. So initially we'll be understanding about the infrastructure as a service. Basically, uh, infrastructure, when we speak about a data center where we'll have servers, storage, network devices, and all the servers with the operating system. So this is the basic infrastructure requirement, and this infrastructure as a service offers you the same. That is, you'll have all uh, uh, the what to say, the base infrastructure, which includes physical servers, physical network, physical storage, and all these resources of network devices. All these things are readily available, and all these resources are managed or maintained by the service provider. And on top of this physical servers, on top of the uh, physical resources, they'll have a virtualization layer. So this virtualization plays a major role in the cloud computing, because in a cloud infrastructure, all the resources which a customer gets will be a virtual resource. So whatever the resource, as a customer, I want to deploy. So maybe I want to deploy a firewall, if I want to deploy a Linux server, or if I want to deploy a storage. So whatever the resource I require, all those resources are deployed in the cloud service providers data center as the virtual resources. So here, from the scratch, we have to configure. So we have to decide what should be our network size, and how many IPs my network should have, and how many subnets my network should have, and what is the servers my network should have, how many Windows servers, how many Linux servers, and what should be the size of the server, how many processor the server should have, and what is the amount of memory the server should have, and what is the operating system the server should have. So everything we have to configure and we have to manage. So only the base infrastructure is provided by the service provider. On top of the base infrastructure, we need to create whatever the resources we need, and we need to configure, and we need to manage. So here in this case of infrastructure as a service, the customer has more responsibilities, or more opportunities to manage their own resources. So the customer will have complete control on their resources, where the service provider will have control only up to the hardware layer. On top of that, the customer has all the responsibilities to create and manage their resources. And coming to the platform as a service. So to better understand about the platform as a service, say I'm a e-commerce company. I want to run my e-commerce business. I have a e-commerce application. I have a e-commerce application developed in my on-premises. But to run my e-commerce application, I need a server, maybe a Windows-based IIS server, or a Linux-based Apache server, whatever it might be. So where I have professionals who can manage the application, but I don't have the professionals who can manage the servers, or who can manage the network, or who can manage the firewall. I don't have this kind of professionals. I have the professional who is sound in managing the application, who is sound in developing the application. So in this case, I want a platform to run my application. So in this case, the cloud service provider offers us the service, the platform as a service, where I need not to bother about the hardware. I need not to bother about the operating system. I need not to bother about the network configuration. All these things are going to be managed by the service provider itself. As a customer, I can choose what platform I need, either a Windows platform or a Linux platform. I can choose the platform, and on top of the platform, I can just upload my application and I can configure my application. I can start using the application. So where I need not to bother about the underlying configuration. So everything is going to be managed by the service provider itself. So as a customer, I'm owning the application and I want to have a platform to run my application. So that is the platform as a service. And coming to the software as a service, so the even the term itself is very simple. So whatever the software I need, the software is going to be readily available for me. I need not to uh, select the hardware. I need not to select the operating system. Even I need not to bother about the application or installing the application or configuring the application. Everything is going to be managed by the service provider itself. So where I can just start using the application. Say example, for running my business, I need a ERP software. So the cloud service provider will be providing me the ERP software itself. So as a customer, what I can do is I can just log on to the ERP portal. That is the software whichever I chose. I can just log on to the portal. I can start using it. So in this case, all the uh, configuration, maintenance, management, everything is going to be managed by the service provider itself. As a customer, I can just log on to the portal and I can start using that application. So it's as simple as using a Gmail or a Yahoo Mail. So again, this Gmail or Yahoo Mail, this is also is a web mail service as a service, webmail as a service. So that is also a software as a service. So that is the thing about software as a service in the cloud infrastructure. I believe you got a better understanding about the cloud deployment models, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. If you have any questions on this discussed topics, you please let me know. Okay, so I consider there is no doubt, and we'll move on to the next one. Now, so to make you clear about the cloud infrastructure, so I want to compare the cloud infrastructure with the on-premises infrastructure, so that it will be easy for you to compare and understand, because I believe most of you would be strong in your on-premises infrastructure. So comparing with this infrastructure with the cloud, so you can have a better understanding. So in this I have just mentioned the on-premises network. So or the on-premises physical network connected to the public internet using a firewall. And this on-premises network has a production network, that is a LAN network, where they have their production servers like Active Directory server, file server, application server, database server. And these production servers are connected to the production user network. And also the companies will have their hosting servers like a web server or FTP server or email server or a terminal server. So in most of the organization, these hosting servers will be connected to the DMZ in the firewall. So uh, and also the network configuration, the DMZ network will have a different IP range, and the LAN network will have a different IP range. So we'll have a different subnets. And also we'll have the configurations in the network, where the production network users will be able to access the production servers. This will be the general configuration in or on premises. And also any traffic from the external network to the LAN network will be blocked in the firewall. so that your LAN network and the resources within the LAN network will be safe from the external attack. And also for hosting these servers, where this web server or email server, this has to be accessed from the public internet. So in the firewall we'll have the configurations, we'll have publishing rules configured in the firewall, which allows, for example, if I want to publish my web server, I'll have a port 80 allowed, and to host my FTP server I'll have a port 21 allowed. To publish my mail server I'll have a port 25 allowed inbound. So these traffics will be allowed inbound between the WAN network to the DMZ, so that these servers can be accessed from the public internet. So this is a traditional on-premises infrastructure. So here you can also understand that whatever the servers you configure, you will decide what should be the size of the hardware, what should be the operating system, and what should be the IP range, and how many network subnets should be there, and which subnet should get access from which subnet. So everything we are configuring. And also from the external network to internal network traffic, we are deciding, so which traffic should flow from which network to which network. So we are deciding and we are controlling. So you can say 100% of the control is within you. So you can decide what traffic should be allowed or what traffic should not be allowed. So this similar kind of approach we should be able to have in the cloud infrastructure also. So that is how the cloud infrastructure also has. In AWS, uh, equivalent to the on-premises network, in AWS they call it as a VPC, virtual private cloud. So this VPC is nothing but a private network inside the cloud. So the private network, in the sense, it's like your on-premises network. So even though it is in the cloud, that is cloud, we say the resources are available in the cloud service providers network. So even though the resources are in the cloud service providers network, you will be given a isolated private network, so where you will have the complete control of this network. So you can decide how many IP subnet this network should have, and which traffic should flow from which network to which network, and what should be the servers and what should be the operating system. Everything you can decide. So, and also you can decide what should be the IP range you want to have inside this network. You can decide the CADR block, and you can split this CADR block into multiple subnets based on your requirement, comparing to your on-premises network. So here you can see I have a subnet named as private subnet, where I'll have all my uh, production network servers, and also I have the hosting servers in a subnet which I have named it as a public subnet. And also you can decide what should be the subnet range for each network. And for providing internet access within this VPC, we should have a configuration called the IGW, that is Internet Gateway. So through this Internet Gateway, the subnets within the VPC can get the internet access, as like you get internet access through the ISP in your on-premises network. Similarly, in AWS, using Internet Gateway, the subnet, that is the devices inside the VPC, can get the internet access. And for uh, providing the internet access to a particular subnet, say since this is the hosting servers, so these servers should be accessed from the public internet, so that we can configure the routing configurations. So through the configurations defined in the routing table, so this public subnet computers can get the internet access. And also, just providing the internet access to all the devices, it's not going to be a healthy configuration. So where we should able to control the traffic, as like we control the traffic using the firewall. Similarly, we should be able to control the traffic. So for controlling the traffic, we have a configuration called NSG, that is network security group. So this network security group is something like a filter or a firewall. So where we can decide what inbound traffic should be allowed or what outbound traffic should be allowed. So we can decide and we can configure. So based on the configuration, so in this example, I just want to publish my web server in the public internet, so that in the network security group, I'm allowing the port 80 inbound allow, so that all the HTTP inbound traffic will be allowed to this particular server, so that this web servers, that is the web page, can be accessed from the public internet. So this is how we configure the uh, cloud network. And even the private subnet computers will not have the internet access, because the diagram itself is very clear that there is a route created only between the public subnet and the internet gateway. So there is no route created for the private subnet, so private subnet computers will not have the internet access. So it's like the configuration where I don't want to allow any external traffic to come inside your network. But still, our servers sometimes it might require the internet access. So if I want to provide internet access to the private subnet computers, where I can use another configuration called VPC NAT gateway. So using the NAT gateway or the NAT servers, we can allow internet access to the private subnet computers. So this is how we can control, or we can configure the cloud network. So with this diagram, I believe you can understand how the things are working, or how the configurations are done in the cloud infrastructure. Uh, if you have any questions on this diagram, or the understanding on this cloud network, you please let me know. If you have any doubts, please let me know. I'm waiting for your response. Okay. So I consider there is no doubts from your point of, from your side. So I think we can now understand the further. So as I said earlier, uh, our production servers should be accessed from the production network users. But in this case, there is no connection between the private subnet or the VPC to the on-premises network. So in this case, the production network users will not be able to directly access the private subnet computers. So to make this possible, I want this private subnet servers should be accessed by the production network users. So to do that, we need to establish a VPN connection. So for which from the cloud service provider side, we'll have a configuration called VPC VPN gateway. And in on-premises, we'll have the customer gateway. We call it even your firewall can be used as the customer gateway. And we'll create a VPN connection between the VPC VPN gateway to your on-premises firewall. So once this VPN is established, so this production network users will be able to access the private subnet computers using the public internet, but the connection will be a private connection, that is the VPN. So where they can access the resources, or they can access the data in a secured manner. So this is how we'll have a cloud infrastructure set up or deployed for any organization. So that's what about the understanding about the cloud infrastructure. And I can also show you some demo, so that you can understand how the things are getting configured and how the things are working. And in meanwhile, if you have any questions or any doubts, you can please let me know.
Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there any limit to the number of VPC subnets and gateways VPNs that I can create?
Okay. So first of all, in a subscription, you can create up to 100 VPCs. So in one VPC, you can decide the IP range AWS supports is /16. So within that /16 limit, you can create the calculated maximum number of subnets. So that much of IP addresses. Say example, if you are using /16 subnet, means in one VPC you can have up to 65,000 IPs. So in one subscription, if you are having if you are able to create 100 VPCs, so you can multiply into 165,000 IPs into 100. So that much of devices you can have. And you can also create multiple subnets, so that you can have isolated traffic between the projects. Was your question answered?
Yeah.
So can you
Yeah.
share the again and screenshot?
The previous one.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's your question, please? Okay. And any other questions?
Sir, I have a question. How you configure the firewall in VPC?
In VPC. Okay, so we have different kind of firewalls out there. There is a application firewall is there, and even this network security group will also act like a nearly like a firewall, but it's not exactly a replacement for the on-premises firewall. So you can consider this network security group itself as a firewall. So where we can control the traffic, inbound or outbound traffics, using the network security group. Apart from that, if you require, you can also configure the application firewall, or something else like that. Was your question answered, or still you need more explanation?
Yes, okay, okay, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Any other questions?
How about the connectivity between the public subnet to private subnet in
if
VPC?
if required, we can configure the routing as like in your on premises. We'll have two different subnets, or your DMZ will have a different subnet and your LAN network will have a different subnet. To make this subnets communication possible, we'll configure the routing in the firewall, right? So
Yep.
similar kind of routing configurations we can do in the in this VPC also.
Okay.
So by default, the routing table will have the configurations, the default configurations, and if required, you can change those default configuration and make it flexible as per your requirement.
What do you mean by VPC pairing?
Okay, say like I have an office at Chennai and another office at Bangalore. If I want to interconnect these two offices, so obviously we'll have a internet connection, like maybe a T1 connection or a MPLS connection or a lease line connection, and we'll configure the VPN between these two physical locations. Similar like that, I have two VPCs. Maybe these two VPCs may be of a different customer or of the same customer. Say I'm just giving as an example. You're running a business and I'm your partner. If we two want to access each other, uh, so in that case, we can create a peering connection between my VPC and your VPC, so that our two network can get communicated each other, and the traffic controls can be done based on the configurations of NSJ and the routing configurations. Got your answer?
Yeah, got the answer. Is
Okay.
it possible? Can I use the same subnet on both the end?
No.
Like,
So the subnets should be unique. The CADR block should not get overlapped.
okay. Even though
Okay.
if it is for a different customer, okay, I'm
Yes.
connecting them through the VPC pairing.
Hmm.
In that scenario,
So we'll have a different configurations for that. We, we can use some relays over there
okay.
in that cases. But as it is, for VPC peering, the CADR block should not get overlapped.
Okay. If you're configuring the relay, then it can be.
Yes, yes, we have different options, but as it is, uh, AWS suggests VPC for peering, CADR block should not overlap.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, fine. So then we can move on to the demonstration. So I believe my screen is visible to you all, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So fine. Uh, this is the URL, AWS .amazon.com/console. So from here you can create your account, free account. Actually, AWS offers you the free subscription. You can create the free subscription account for 12 month. You can use this every month. 720 hours of virtual machine running hours. You can get it for free of cost. Since I have already created the account, I'm just signing in.
Excuse me, sir. Your screen is not visible.
It's not
Only
visible.
demo.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
it's like slides open.
okay. Now
It's
is it
okay now.
visible now?
It's not. Okay, okay.
Okay. Oh, something went wrong. Okay, just give me a second. Fine. So already I have created the account and I have logged in. And this is the dashboard of the AWS Management Console. Um, First of all, before creating the resources, you need to choose the location in which location you want to create your resources. Actually, this location we call it as a AWS regions. So these are all the regions where the Amazon's data centers are available. So you can choose whichever the region you want. So for now, I'm just selecting Asia Pacific, Mumbai. And under Mumbai, I want to just see what are all the resources are available. Under computing, I can choose EC2. EC2 is nothing but a virtual machine. And here we can see there is zero running instances. So there is no instances in this location. And we can create the virtual machine. So before creating the instances, we need to create the network. So for which I want to uh, create a VPC. So VPC is what we have just discussed, that is virtual private cloud. And here you can see there is one VPC by default, and see all regions. In all the regions, there will be one default VPC will be there. So that default VPC will be with the default configurations. So you can make use of the default VPC, or you can create your own VPC. By default, the default VPC will have the will be configured with the IP range 172.31 slash 16. So if one, you can make use of it, or you can create your own. So you can just as a learner, as a beginner, you can just go to the VPC dashboard. So here you can see the option launch VPC wizard. Use that, and here you'll have a few options. So VPC with a single public subnet, or VPC with public subnet and private subnet. So this is what the example I have shown you in the picture. Even this is all just like some templates. Later you want, you can configure. Say initially I'm just configuring a VPC with a single subnet. Later if I want to add one private subnet, I can add. So that's all up to us. So you can choose whichever the pattern you want. I'm just choosing VPC with a single public subnet. And here you can define the CADR range for the VPC. And also by default they have taken the 10 dot series. If want, you can change this range. Say if I don't want a slash 16, I can change it a slash 24, or whatever the range you want, you can change. And you can see this particular range has 65,531 usable IPs. And you can give a name for this VPC, and just give lab VPC. You can give whatever the name you want. And in this VPC, we are going to create one subnet. For that particular subnet, I want to give this IP range 10.0.0/24. And also you can choose the availability zones. Availability zone, actually, it is in a region, they'll have at least two availability zones. So you can choose whichever the availability zone you want. And also you can give a name for the uh, subnet, just giving subnet 01. And the rest of the configurations, I'm just leaving it as default. And I'm just creating the VPC. So here you can see the creation of a VPC is successful. Since now the network is ready, we can so once the VPC is ready, we'll be able to create the resources inside that VPC. So here you can notice the lab VPC is ready, and also the CADR range, whichever we have defined. So now let me show you how to create the Ac2 instance. Under services, you can find compute. Under that, you can find EC2. So EC2 is nothing but elastic cloud computing. So EC2 instance, we call it as a instance. So an instance is nothing but a virtual machine in a virtual infrastructure. Under EC2 services, you can go to instances. So where we can create the instance, so that you can press this option, launch instance, and you can choose what operating system you want. So I want Microsoft Windows Server in my virtual machine. So I'm just selecting the Microsoft operating system. And also here I need to select the size of the virtual machine. You can see the size named as nano, micro, small, medium, large, extra large, 2 extra large, so like that. And also you can see the difference in the processor. Small has one processor and 2 GB of RAM. Medium has two processor and 4 GB of RAM. So likewise, the higher size will have higher resource. So for this demo, I'm just going to create a uh, T2 micro, because only this size is available for free tier. So the rest of the sizes, if you choose, obviously you are going to paying, you need to pay for that. So I'll just go with the T2 micro, and then I can configure what is the number of instances I want to launch. I want to just launch one instance, and in which network I want to connect my virtual machine. So we have created a VPC, lab VPC. I'm just selecting the VPC which I have created. And inside that VPC, we have created a subnet, lab VPC underscore SN01. So that is selected automatically. And also, once the virtual machine has been spinned up, the virtual machine should have a public IP, since I want to connect and manage from the public internet. So by default, you can see the auto assign public IP is disabled. I want to enable it. And after enabling, I can proceed with the next, add storage. And you can choose the hard disk capacity for the virtual machine. So for this machine, by default 30 GB hard disk will be created. You can give the size, whatever the size you want, you can define. So for now 30 GB is enough for me, since this is the demo. And you can add the tag. So for your identification, I'm just giving lab VM01, and we can configure the security group. So security group, as like said, it's like a firewall where we can define the inbound rules and the outbound rules. So after launching this instance, I should be able to connect the virtual machine. I want to remote desktop. I want to connect the virtual machine using the remote desktop. So I want to allow the RDP session. And also for this security group, I can give any name. And from source, we can define from where you want to allow this particular traffic. So I want to allow the traffic only from my IP. I can define, or if I want to allow traffic from anywhere, I can define, or if I want to define a custom traffic, I can define. So everything is your choice. So I want to allow all the IP addresses to connect using the RDP. I want to allow this for remote desktop. So now you can press review and launch. So this is the final summary. So whatever the virtual machine you have, size you have chosen, the operating system you have chosen, whatever the configuration you have given, if there is any change required, you can go back and you can change, or otherwise if everything is okay for you, you can press launch. And one important thing is when you are installing a operating system in your on premises, maybe a physical server or a virtual machine, while installing Windows operating system, it will ask the administrator password, so where you need to give the administrator password as an input. But while deploying here, we haven't given the administrator's password anywhere, so the administrator password will be generated randomly. So that will be a encrypted password. So to decrypt the administrator's password, we need to create a password key pair. So using the password key, you can decrypt the administrator password later. So that you need to create a key pair now. So I'm just creating a new key pair. So for the key pair, I'm giving the name. You can give whatever the name you want. So I'm just giving demo VM. So with this name, a key pair will be created, and the key pair will have the information required to decrypt the administrator password of this particular virtual machine. And you need to download this key pair, and this key pair should be kept safe. If you miss the key pair later, you will not be able to retrieve the administrator's password. So this key pair file, you should keep it safe. So after downloading the key pair, you can launch the instance. So now the virtual machine is getting ready. Within few minutes, it will be ready. Now you can see the instance state is pending. Yeah. So now we can see the instance state, it is running. So within few clicks or few, even not more than a minute, less than a minute, your virtual machine is ready. And also here you can see your virtual machine got a public IP address, and also it has a private IP address. So this private IP address, it was in the range of the subnet which we have chosen for the virtual machine. And here you can see the public IP. So using this public IP, we can connect this virtual machine. So if I want to connect this virtual machine, obviously we had an option. Initially we decided I want to connect back to this virtual machine using RDP. So in network security group, we have allowed NSG, while configuring the NSG, we have defined RDP, inbound traffic allowed. So using this public IP, we'll be able to connect back to the virtual machine. Now let me open the MSTC. I'm using the public IP of the virtual machine. Let me connect. So now it is asking for the credentials. So credential, I know the username is administrator, but password, I don't know. As I said earlier, for decrypting the administrator's password, we need to use the key pair, which we have downloaded using the uh, while launching the instance, we have downloaded the key pair. So I can use that. And here you can see the option. And I'm just get, okay, some options has been changed. So okay, here it is, get Windows password, and you need to browse, or you need to locate the key pair which you have downloaded earlier. I have kept in the documents. So this is the key pair which I have downloaded. After locating the key pair file, press on this decrypt. So now we'll get the password of the administrator and copy the password. Go back to the MSTC. Now you can connect. So this is how we can set up our cloud infrastructure in the AWS, and we can access the resources, and lot more configurations are there. So just to show you how it works basically, so I want to show this demo. I believe you got a better understanding on this cloud deployment on AWS. If you have any questions, you can please let me know.
So actually, last year created one account, same
Little bit
credit
louder,
card.
please.
Last year, our account created
Okay,
the AWS
okay,
using for one credit card.
okay.
I think the free tier is eligibility is limited is completed. I think now.
Okay, okay.
So again, same credit card I able to create.
You try with a different email ID and
Okay,
the same credit card. Using
okay,
the
okay, okay,
in the same email ID, you will not be able to use.
okay, okay.
Okay.
Okay. In futurely, can you show the
Mm.
every last minute? Can you show the demo version?
I'm sorry.
Uh, for example, for a class software, you can show the demo
In
for
the
any
class.
class.
Yes, yes. In the class, we'll have all the sessions with the demo.
Okay, okay,
Okay. So all the
okay,
concepts, whichever we are discussing, so we'll
okay,
have the demonstration.
okay, okay.
Got it?
Got it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sir, any person having a credit card limitation or not having a credit card, then how can create
No, credit
everyone's
card or
account
debit card is mandatory.
mandatory?
Yes, yes.
If some temporary account or this exemption can be handled
A temporary account in the sense, or what do you mean?
for testing or a deployment.
That's what, for testing or deployment, they are giving the subscription for 12 months. Okay, even for the free subscription also, you need a credit card or debit card. That is mandatory,
Okay,
because
okay. Thank you.
they
Thank you.
for the usage they are not giving unlimited usage. You are limited to use only 720 hours of virtual machine. So if you are using more than 720 hours, so you are going to be charged for that. Okay,
Okay, okay.
so
I understand.
that's why they are ensuring that the customer who is creating the account, they should have the credit card or debit card. Okay.
Is the public IP is chargeable for the free account?
Now, see, public IPs, the public dynamic IP, there is no charge, and there is public static IP. In AWS, they call it as elastic IP. So elastic IP, they offer first 5 IPs for free of cost, and beyond that, you're going to be charged for that. And even for elastic IP, after acquiring the elastic IP, you should use that elastic IP. It means that the IP which you got, that should be used by any virtual machine, and the virtual machine should be in running state. If you got a elastic IP and you are not using it, or the instant to which you are attached to the elastic IP, the instance is not running, it means that the IP is not in use. So in that case, you are going to be charged for that.
Okay.
Okay, the first 5 IPs are free, but still the first 5 IPs that should be in use. Otherwise, you are going to be charged for that.
Okay, got it. And if I want to change the administrator password,
You can make it later. The first time I have logged in, After that, you can change it as like you do in Windows computer. You can make it. You can change it.
So if I'm changing it, then I need to download the keypad. Am I
Not
correct?
required. So
Okay.
once you change the administrator's password, then the keypad is not useful for you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. So only the generated password can be decrypted using the key. Once you have changed the password manually, later this key is not usable.
Okay.
Okay.
So how can we recover that password if we forgot after changing the
After changing
administrator?
the password, traditionally in Windows computers, how you change the password? Does it the same way?
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sir, what time
You
you
share your sessions, recorded sessions, whatever we
Yes,
are
I'll
going
share.
to.
I'll share.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
hello?
Yes, please.
Sir, one time we create the AWS server.
Okay.
After log out, these times are save or
Yeah.
continue this running.
All the resources, whichever the resource you created, that will exist. Okay.
Exist. Exist means
You'll be
totally destroyed and
no. It will be there. It
okay.
will not get destroyed automatically. You have to destroy it manually.
Okay.
So if you want to destroy the resource, now you can see in the screen. So you need to select the virtual machine, go to actions, and go to the instance setting, and you can see terminate.
Okay.
Okay, so I think the protection is enabled. So we need to disable the instance protection. Okay, so later you can delete this.
Okay. Okay. Got it,
Okay,
sir.
so here you can see the termination protection is disabled. So straight away you can terminate this instance.
Oh,
Okay,
okay. Okay. Got it, sir.
okay.
சார் விக்னேஷ்
Yes, please.
சார் இப்போ நீங்க செலக்ட் பண்ணுவீங்களா சார்
Hmm.
பிளாட்ஃபார்ம் விண்டோஸ் சர்வர் பிளாட்ஃபார்ம் செலக்ட் பண்ணுவீங்களா
Hmm.
இப்போ சப்போஸ் அந்த விண்டோஸ் சர்வர்ல ஏதாவது அப்டேட் இல்ல பேட்சஸ் ரிலீஸ் பண்றாங்கன்னா
That you have to. That is your responsibility. So as like in your on premises you do similar like that you need to do here. That's what the infrastructure as a service is. So only the underlying infrastructure is provided as the service. On top of that, whatever you create, whatever you configure it, so you need to manage this. So the Windows updates, everything we have to take care of that. We need to install it.
ஓகே சார் தேங்க்யூ
சார் அசோக் சார்
Yes,
ஒன்
please.
டைம் நம்ம அந்த டெர்மினேட் பண்ணாம நம்ம அப்படியே விட்டுட்டு ஒரு 1 month கழிச்சு யூஸ் பண்ணா அந்த 1 monthக்கு சார்ஜஸ் ஆகுமா அது?
Okay. So if it is a T2 micro instance,
ஓகே.
T2 micro instance is in a free tier, right?
எஸ் சார்.
So 24/7, 30 days is 720 hours, right?
எஸ் சார்.
So for the instance running time, it comes under the free tier. But storage limit, if your virtual machine is having more data inside that, for that data you are going to be charged. Only 30 GB is limit for a month. If your data is more than 30 GB, for that you need to pay for that. Unless
Okay.
until you have just deploy the operating system bar and there is no additional data consumptions. In that case, you might not be charged for additionally. Okay. But if you
Okay.
are running two instances parallelly, okay, in
Okay.
that case,
Okay.
you are running two instances. Each instance is running 720 hours. So first 720 hours is free. The second 720 hours you have to pay for it.
Okay. Okay.
Got it?
Oh, got it, sir.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sir, can you tell me after the pricing method, free tier usage methods? Suppose in case any instance and elastic
Yes.
IP.
Even in the class lab
Yeah, because
demonstration, I can show you.
consumable from
No,
credit
yeah,
card.
AWS is very transparent on that. And you can see the free tier limitations. You can see here EC2 720 has is free, S3 5 GB is free. RDS 750 has is free. Okay. So from here you
Okay.
can get to know the limitations. Okay. See, as a demo user for your learning purpose, my suggestion is you create the resources, practice everything. At the end of your practice, you destroy all the resources whichever you created.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So next time you start your practice, you create all the resources again. So definitely the free limit will not get exceeded. Okay.
Suppose in friends, colleague, na, usage is considerable and the cost involved, everything.
I'm
After
sorry.
that, my friends are used the limitation classes.
Okay,
After
okay,
that,
okay. See, if in that case, what you can do is you can just write a mail to AWS.
okay.
Okay, so they will consider and they will waive the things because you're not using it in production, right?
Yeah.
So you can write a mail to them, so they will consider and they will waive the bill. But you should be very conscious while using these resources. Okay,
Okay. Thank you, sir.
you're welcome.
Instead of destroying the servers,
Hmm.
is it possible to stop the service?
Yeah, you can. Again, if you're stopping the service, what happens is the resources are not consumed, but still the storage space is occupied.
Okay.
Okay, for that you are going to be charged. You can stop. That will also help you. But for storage space, some minimum charges is going to be applicable.
That
So
also if we exceed the storage, am I
it
correct?
exceeds the 30 GB limit.
Yeah.
Got it. So you'll have the option for stop everything you can. So choice is yours. That's it. Okay. And any other questions? Actually, if you don't have, I have few questions. I want you peoples to answer for this. First of all, what is clustering? Can anyone answer for this question?
I think clustering is multiple of nodes
Mhm.
is command of clustering, right, sir?
Okay. So clustering is a grouping of servers or grouping of devices. Basically, these devices are grouped to achieve two important things. One is load balancing, and other one is failover. So failover in the sense, if I am running a file server, at any cost, my file service should not get disturbed. My end user should be able to get access to the files at any time. So in that case, I can configure failover cluster where one server will be the active server, the other server will be the passive server. So unless until the active server is running, passive server will be passive. So immediately if the active server goes down, immediately the passive server will be uh, brought back as a active server. So end users will get the file service continuously available for them. So that is achieved through the clustering, failover clustering. And can anyone explain me about NLB, network load balancer? Can anyone about NLB,
Sir,
network?
I want to answer.
Yes, please.
If a server is going heavy huge load,
Hmm,
then the automatically shift the load to different server, so
great.
that the we can achieve the services as well.
Great. So in a network load balance cluster, the load is distributed across multiple nodes. Okay, so whatever the load is hitting the service, maybe a web application. So whatever the load is hitting the web application, that load will be distributed across multiple nodes so that all the nodes can be serving the customers so that the load will be equally distributed. So this similar kind of approach in cloud also in AWS, we have a configuration called ELB, Elastic Load Balancer. So this Elastic Load Balancer is a similar kind of service. So where it can distribute load across multiple EC2 instances. Great. And can anyone answer me what is a LUN?
LUN is a storage box.
Okay. Further, can you explain more?
Yeah, it is basic. Yes, storage related.
Okay. So it's actually a term used in storage environment. Okay. So LUN is logical unit number. It is actually a logical portion of a physical hard disk. So where in storage we'll have a huge storage capacity. Out of the huge storage capacity, we can allocate a small portion to one particular server or one particular device. That small logical storage unit is called as the LUN. So where this LUN can be allocated the required amount of storage capacity, and this LUN can be presented to any network servers, so that from the server's point of view, this LUN will look like a hard disk, local hard disk. So whatever the data stored inside the LUN from the server, those data will be stored in the storage. So where this is actually we call it as a shared storage. So where in case if the server goes down, the same LUN can be mounted to another server. So the storage management will be very much flexible. Okay, so that's great. And can
Hope,
anyone? Yes,
yeah, hope the LUN can be presented to n number of servers too. Am I right?
yes. The defined number of devices, servers. Okay, you cannot say it's n number. The numbers is defined.
Okay.
It should be defined. And can anyone tell me what is the protocol used by the SAN, or what's the protocol used to connect the LAN? Can anyone? Okay, let me answer. Usually, in SAN storage, there are two type of protocols supported: iSCSI protocol and FC protocol. So if it is a FC storage, FC stands SAN storage, so FC protocol will be used, and that is fiber channel protocol is used. If it is a iSCSI storage, so where the iSCSI protocol is used to connect the LAN. Okay. And can anyone tell me where this RDP protocol is used? Maybe everyone can say the answer.
Remote desktop protocol. That is
Okay.
used for a remote desktop to
Okay,
accessing the system.
that's great. And what is the port number?
3389.
Superb. That's great. And can anyone tell me what is the port number, or where this SSH is used?
Sir, secure shell, it is used for accessing the shell and to configure or monitor the servers or any configuration of the
Actually, it's used by putty
Okay.
via some.
So this SSH is a protocol used to connect the Linux or Unix devices through remote.
Yeah.
So we can use PuTTY as the client software to connect. And what is the port number?
23, yes, sir.
22 is
It is 22, correct. Superb.
Yeah.
And can anyone tell me what is the number of usable IPs in this range?
255.
255. Now?
No.
254.
254 in the traditional network. In cloud network, in traditional network, we can use 254 IPs. But
Cloud network, it will be 251.
exactly.
252, sir.
251. 251 is correct answer. Okay. So because
Can you explain, sir,
Yeah, the
why?
first IP,
yes,
broadcast
so
IP.
usually the first IP, the 255 is the broadcast IP, so that cannot be used. So 254 IP is usable in even in the physical network. And out of 254, one IP will be used for gateway, one IP will be used for DNS, and the IP will be used for DHCP. So 3 IPs will be used, and the remaining 251 IPs will be usable for us.
Thank
Got
you,
it?
sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Because this kind of questions you may expect in the interviews also.
Okay.
And can anyone say what is SNMP and its use?
Yes. And
Sir, yes, simple network management protocol.
Network
It is used
management protocol. Superb. What is its use? Where it is used?
to control or configure the devices
I'm
on the
sorry.
network. To use or configure the devices on the network.
No. No. Any other answers? Actually, this SNMP protocol is used for monitoring, network monitoring. That is the server monitoring, service monitoring. Okay, so all the monitoring servers will be using the SNMP protocol. So to monitor the availability of the server or availability of the resources. So for monitoring, this SNMP will be used. So the equivalent service in AWS, here we have a service called a CloudWatch. So using CloudWatch also you can monitor the servers and the usage of the resources. Okay, and can anyone explain me what is a template in virtualization? Anyone aware about the template?
template means mirroring.
Mirroring.
Mirror.
Okay. Any other answer?
Virtualizations means virtual running of OS.
Okay. See, usually to reduce the deployment time, what we'll do is we'll create a virtual machine, we'll install the required operating system, we'll install all the patches up to date, and then we will make this virtual machine as a template for the future deployment. So whenever we create the virtual machines in future, we use the existing template for deploying the new virtual machine. So where the new virtual machine will have all the operating systems readily available. As like in AWS right now, we used a Windows virtual machine. While deploying the Windows virtual machine, we have selected a thing called AMI, Amazon machine image. So this AMI is equivalent to the template in the virtual infrastructure. So where you can choose the operating system, so through which the operating system will get deployed in your virtual machine. Okay, and everyone, I believe you might be aware about this RTO, RPO. Can anyone answer me this question? What is RTO and RPO? Okay, let me answer. So RTO is recovery time objective and RPO is recovery point objective. So both the things starts with recovery. So when recovery is required when there is any failure. So if there is any failure, what is the recovery time objective? That is, if there is any failure, how fast you can bring back the service, how fast you can recover back the service. That is the RTO. So every even your SLAs will have this point specifically. They will be discussing on this. So recovery time objective is if anything goes wrong, if anything fails, how fast you can bring back it. That is defined as RTO. RPO is recovery point objective. That is, if there is any failure, and at that time, what is going to be the loss? At the time of failure, what is the loss or what is the amount of data loss? So that is defined through the RPO. Got it? So that's all from my side. And I believe you got a better understanding about the AWS cloud infrastructure, and you got a better understanding on the comparison between on-premises and the cloud infrastructure. And that's all from my side. And thank you all for attending this session. And if you have any more questions or more doubts, you can ask me at any time. You can reach us using the given email ID or the mobile number. So you can contact us. And thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.